Grace and peace from God our Father and our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen. You're in for something, a first timer. I'm going to do something in the sermon today that I've never, ever done before. I'm going to preach a sermon about being generous. And I'm not going to pass out pledge cards at the end. For those of you who have been raised in the church, take your age. And that's probably the exact number that you've heard me or some other preacher give you a great moving sermon on generosity and then ask you to sign on the dotted line. There's nothing wrong with that, and we definitely wanted to turn over into the church, but I didn't want to cloud it with any pressure. I just wanted to talk about developing a lifestyle of generosity. It's very important. In fact, I would hope that we would all make it our goal that we would make generosity part of our growth strategy. And that's kind of where we're going. And we're going to talk about some physical things, and then we're also going to talk about scriptural things as we look into the Holy Scriptures and see. When I think about being generous, I look at myself and I see three different things. First of all, there's a stingy side of me that's just wants to hold everything I've got. Everything I can get my hands on, it's mine, I want to hold it. And there's that belief that there's not really enough to go around. And if I let go of some of what I have, I'm going to be hurting in the end. And so I hoard it. That's stingy. Then there's the frugal side of me, which shouldn't be confused with stinginess. And that's the side where just wisely spend, watch how many lights you leave on, watch the electric bill, watch how long people are in the shower, how much do I give here, how much do I do there? Being frugal, you don't want to be wasteful. I see that in me. And then there's my goal or my aim in life, which is to be generous. Just let things go, let the gifts flow, the things that God has given me to share openly and freely as much as I possibly can. So do you feel like you have all three of those in you? I discovered it a couple of weeks ago. We had somebody stop by the office who was obviously homeless, and he was dirty and he was smelly, and he came in and said, I've got cancer and I don't have a place to live, I don't have anything to eat, I'm just desperate, what can you do? And I said, well, we'll help you out. So I searched around, we had some food laying around, we got food together, we've got some toiletries that people have donated. I gave them some soap and toothpaste and all the stuff so we can help stay clean and stuff. And then, don't tell Pastor Jerry, but I borrowed a little bit of the toilet paper that you gave for him and gave him a roll of toilet paper. And then I went back to my office, and we have got these Publix gift cards, and so I got him a $25 gift card to go to the Publix, and I'm in your name because you're the one that's donated all this stuff. I go, Immanuel is generous. Doesn't that bother you that we were able to help the guy out? Well, he walked out, and before the door got all the way closed, another guy walks in that is also obviously homeless, and he says, I don't have any gas. Can I get some gas? And I really don't. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Do you have any of those cards to help me out? And so I'm starting to figure, okay, how much do I have left on my pastor's discretionary fund, which I use totally for this? So I'm moving from generosity to frugal. And I say, yeah, I'd be glad to get you some gas. And I thought I'll get him a $10 card. Notice I went from 25 to 10 in your name. Sorry. I feel very guilty about this. So I go back to my office to get the card and my car keys because I was going to drive him to the gas station. And there's a third guy in one of the offices walking around, and he goes, "You got one of those food cards?" And I immediately went from frugality to stingy and said no. And I wasn't lying. I had taken the last one out. But that's, and I feel very guilty about that. But do you see those in yourselves? And what was really amazing is I ushered them out, and they all three went and got in the same van and drove off to their next destination. Frequently I wonder if the poor were as annoying in Jesus' day as they are today. And I figured yes. and what does God call us to do? He calls us to be generous, to develop and to always err on the side of generosity. That is my personal goal, to err. If I'm going to make a mistake, if I'm going to goof up, I want to goof up on the side of generosity. Why? Because God has been generous to us. We all know John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he did not send a committee. And also St. Paul said, for while we were yet sinners, God sent his Son. While we had in no way deserved what God could do for us, he sent his Son. St. Paul wrote in Romans, for him and through him and to him are all things. And James writes, every good and perfect gift comes from above, coming down from the Father of lights. So God's intent is for us to be generous because he's been so generous with us. Now, we're going to look more into the scriptures now, and as we do so, we remember that we look at the scriptures in two different ways, and we'll discover two different things. There's law and there's gospel. There's what we call bad news, and there's good news. Because sometimes people are so difficult to get along with, God's got to just kind of whack us upside of the head and get our attention. I was reading this week in the book of Haggai. Anybody ever read that book? It's in the Old Testament. Haggai is one of the minor prophets. And the story goes that the people of Israel had been deported. Jerusalem was messed up. And then they came back. And they were starting to build up their homes. And the economy was getting better. Things were looking up. But they hadn't gotten around to rebuilding the temple. So this is Haggai's writing, and he's quoting. He said, this is what the Lord of heaven's armies says. Ready for this? The people are saying the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. And then the Lord sent his message through the prophet Haggai. Why are you living in luxurious houses while my house lies in ruins? This is what the Lord of heaven's army says. Listen to this. Look what's happening to you. You've planted much, but you've harvested little. You eat, but you're still hungry. You drink, but you're still thirsty. You put on warm clothes, and yet you're still cold. Your wages disappear as though there are holes in your pockets. This is what the Lord of heaven's army says. Look what's happening to you. Now, go up the hills, get some timber, bring it down here, and build my house. Notice what happened? That it's almost a natural thing when they were hoarding and holding things. Nothing was good enough. They were hungry, they were eating and they were still hungry, and all that stuff. That's what happens when we hoard and we're not on the generous side. So, I guess that's theological tough love. So what happened? Then Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the whole remnant of God's people began to obey the message from the Lord their God. And when they heard the words of the prophet Haggai, whom the Lord their God had sent, the people were in awe of the Lord. And then Haggai, the Lord's messenger, gave his people this message from the Lord. My translation. I'm back! It's like God goes away, and whether he literally goes away or we just can't see him when we're so focused on us and ourselves that we're missing something. So that's the law. But there's also good reasoning in the Holy Scriptures as to why we should be generous. Somebody misquoted Jesus as having said this, which he didn't, but it's actually not bad. He says, I have come to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. Like Jesus came to get our attention, to bring us back to God, and also to save us from that which is destroying us. Okay, so now let's move into some gospel. And I want you to look at some words from 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul writes, he says, yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. God didn't bless us with everything we've got that we would not share it. He's blessed us with plenty so we could be generous. Just like Sharon was talking with the kids, the little girl with the 2 coins, she gave the most because it's relative. She gave everything. It's like we've been blessed to be generous. When I think about that, I can't think of the folks at Immanuel. Some of you are new, some of you have been around a long time, but back in 2009, we felt like God was calling us to start a church up in Tradition, Florida. There was a whole community with no churches, and we decided God wanted us to start a church. So if you remember 2009, January 2009, the economy was in the toilet. And God's calling us to raise $500,000. Yeah. Are you serious? But we did it. And we did that capital campaign, and we just about made that goal. And just short of $250,000, $250,000 went to start Tradition. So generosity is a great thing. And then this is the rest of that verse, what happens. He says, and when we take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank God. And that's kind of the whole goal of being a Christian, of being a church, is to bring other people into the family to see how wonderful and generous God is and to give Him thanks. That's the goal, to give God praise. And this is what happened. He goes on and says, in Jerusalem, or in Tradition, the needs will be met, and they will be joyfully express their thanks to God. Again, that's what we're going for, is giving thanks to God. And then Paul goes on, he says, as a result of your ministry, they'll give glory to God for your generosity to them and all believers that will prove that you are obedient to the good news of Christ. Remember when you were little and your parents asked you to do something and you do it, and they would slap you in the back or give you a hug, and you just felt so good because you did what you're supposed to do. I didn't do that too often, I must confess. Seriously, when you do, and that's the feeling we get with God, with the good news. And then he goes on and says, and they will pray for you with deep affection because of the overflowing grace God has given to you. Thank God for this gift, too wonderful for words. And so as we see the ministry up in Tradition growing, we realize, yes, God has called us. And we have answered, and now we've got this loving relationship with this great group of people who pray for us, and we pray for them. That's the gift of generosity. We read on the scriptures where it says, give freely and become more wealthy. That sounds backwards, doesn't it? Because in that mindset of zero balance, if we give, we are lost. So if I pick up a $100 bill that I found on the thing, well, I better give some of this away. So you give $1 to the guy sitting at the end of the exit ramp, and then you go to Sonny's and you give an extra $10 tip, which is huge at Sonny's. And you think, oh, I've been so generous, but I better keep the rest of it. Even though the whole $100 was a gift, I better keep it, because I could run out. Again, that's the idea. And what happens is, when we give, we become wealthy, but when we're stingy, what does it say? We lose everything. It says the generous will prosper. Those who refresh others with themselves will be refreshed. It's like, and here's another passage from Proverbs. If you help the poor, you are lending to the Lord, and He will repay you. Have you ever thought about that? You see somebody that needs some money, and you try to help them out, and you give them a gift, and you think, oh, I hope something good becomes of that. And you think, well, wow, that's a wonderful thing. Do you ever think that what you're doing is you're making a loan to God? And God will pay you back. And He will bless you and continue to offer His blessings, His generous salvation to all of us. I read this week about one time C.S. Lewis. I don't remember him. He lived back a generation before mine. And one day he was in Cambridge. He was walking along with J.R.R. Tolkien. And they came across a guy that was in tattered clothes and asked for money. C.S. Lewis reached into his pocket, took out everything he had, and gave it to the guy. Tolkien chastised him for it. He said, "What are you doing that for?" He's just going to go buy a drink. And C.S. Lewis said, "I think that's what I do. I think I'd go buy a drink." Because sometimes it's good to be wise, but sometimes you just got to give out of the goodness of your heart. And talking about that, this week we're going to be observing Veterans Day on Wednesday, and it's a time when we remember the generosity of men and women who gave their lives on the line so that we might enjoy freedom. So in closing today, I'd like to offer this tribute to those who sacrificed, those who gave the time so that we could be free. Remember, the essence of generosity is letting go. And if we're in pain, it's usually a sign that we're holding on to something too tight for ourselves.